Yo, what's up, son? This is your host, Mr. Yuck, and today I'm going to be showing you the strongest build for the Demon Hunter in Diablo 3. Today I am playing on Act 3 Inferno mode on Master 1 difficulty, and I'm just going to run through real quick on my skill build here. And what I think the best build is for the Demon Hunter is pretty much a real quick regen of a Hatred build, and you're going to be using your secondary as your main primary for your firing. And how I set this up is for my primary move, I'm going to be using Entangling Shot with Justice is Served. It increases my Hatred regen 6 per shot, and it also slows down the enemies. Slowing them down isn't too crucial, but the increased hatred of 6 per shot is really key in regenerating hatred really fast. And so one of your main moves that you're going to be using here is on your secondary. I go with Rapid Fire. It initially costs 20 hatred and then only 6 hatred a second after that, which is really nice. You can just hold down R2 and just unload with rapid fire for a really long time. If you let go and re-click it, it does cost that initial 20 hatred, so keep that in mind. I like to go for fire support down here on the bottom. It launches 2 homing rockets every second to deal an additional 145% weapon damage. The piercing is also pretty decent because it has a 40% chance to pierce, but we'll just go for fire support for shits and giggles. And then for our defensive, we're going to be using Shadow Power. And on Shadow Power, we're going to be using Nightbane, which also gains an additional 3 hatred per second. And on our hunting skill, we're going to be using our companion, the Bat, which also regens 3 hatred per second. So right there, you can see while I'm using Shadow Power and the companion, which once you click the companion, it pretty much just stays out there. Yeah, I'll be regenerating 6 hatred a second. And while using my secondary, if you notice on Rapid Fire, I only cost 6 hatred a second to continue to fire that. So our hatred won't really be going down at all, which is really nice. And then for my devices, I use the Sentry Gun. Its cooldown is 8 seconds, which isn't too bad. So instead of reducing the cooldown or using the Guardian turret, I actually like to use the Aid Station. I can just sit and pretty much soak up a shitload of damage and continue to dish out a grip load. And while I'm dishing out damage on Shadow Power, while that's activated, 15% of all damage done is leached to my life. So since I do have a 100,000 DPS character, that's going to be about 15,000 life a second. So pretty much I can't die. And while I'm standing in 2 sentry guns, that's 4% of my max life a second, which is really nice, including all my other life leeches. And then on my archery skill set build, I like to use Rain of Vengeance and then Dark Cloud. It almost gives me a 800% weapon damage over 12 seconds. And I can pretty much just run with that move and it will follow me and help mop up dudes. So normally when I jump into battle, what I like to do is I throw down a sentry gun first, which burns some hatred. After I've burned some hatred, then what I want to do is I want to throw down my Shadow Power. So let's run out here past these guys real quick. I'm going to throw down my Sentry Gun, Shadow Power, R1, and unload on these guys with my secondary. I'm soaking up massive damage. I can throw down another Sentry Gun and activate another Shadow Power. Continue to just hold down R2 and just keep mopping up these dudes. Throw out another Shadow Power. I can jump out of the way of all that plague need be. Can always use my primary to slow them down if I need to. And throw out another sentry to finish this up. And you can see how powerful the sentry gun is. Extremely powerful. And here's just some more skeletons. Each one of these skeletons has somewhere probably around 150,000 health. But once you have a Nephilim Glory, and right now I have it at ×3, all of the chain linking together with my damage is just unreal. I am leeching so much life a second that these guys really can't stop me. You see his treasure seeker right here. He probably has a few million health. Alright, so we're going to try this build out here on this boss, on Gom. And so, like I said, we're going to throw out our turret first. Shadow power, R1. Start firing away at this guy. His gas attack is actually in my sentry gun field, so I'm just going to wait. Throw out another sentry gun back here. Shadow power again, and I'm just going to stand here and just soak up the damage and just keep fighting him. Shadow power one more time just in case, and that's it for him. Boom! Little overburden. And man, that's a stinky mess. And you can see how quick I'm just regenning my health. And, you know, with about 15,000 regen a second, even I can just stand in the wake of bosses and they can't stop me, especially if I'm standing in my sentry gun while I'm regenning my health, which is really nice. Now, if you wanted to know exactly how I'm doing so much damage and how my DPS is roughly right now, it is actually right at 100,000. It could be much higher, but I'm not really worried about it. I could craft better gems into a couple pieces of my armor, but like I said, right now 1,000 DPS is fine for me. And pretty much every piece of armor, I either am going for attack speed up, critical hit chance, or dexterity. And so right here in my bracers, I have a 277 dexterity and a 3% critical hit chance. In my neck piece, it does have a socket in it. I just have I think it's just radiant emerald. Anyways, it could be much higher. I'm not too worried about it. It's a 176 dexterity, 7% attack speed, 1.1% chance to blind on hit, which is pretty nice. And if you notice the arcane balls that are always around me, this Moonlight Ward always has that in it, and it gives me that ability. Just melee attackers are attacking me, I do damage. In my headpiece, which makes me look like the samurai, it's the Mempo of Twilight. It gives me 266 dexterity and 9% attack speed. And then I just put a better magic item find in there. For my chest piece, I'm wearing Tyrael's Might. It gives me a 241 dexterity. It makes me really quick, and it gives me a nice 4% damage to elite enemies, so I get that bonus damage up against really strong guys, which is nice, because the weaker dudes I can just waste anyways. In my shoulder pieces, I have my Bartertown pads. It gives me a 252 dexterity, and let's see, my gloves, I have, it's Tasker and Theo. I just picked it up. It's a legendary piece. I put a square emerald in that one, perfect square. 422 dexterity at 8% attack speed. My crossbow, which is probably one reason why I do so much damage, it's Cluckeye. And if you notice that sometimes when I shoot a little chicken. Right there, I just shot one. I shoot a chicken out. Anyways, the damn DPS on my my bow is 1,349.1. Sorry, it's just a bow, not a crossbow. The overall stats on it are really OP. 576 to 723 arcane damage, 7% damage, 112 strength, 368 dexterity, 115 intelligence, 112 vitality, plus 0.27 attacks per second, and a 30% chance to cluck while attacking. Wow, that's some crazy shit. The chicken actually does do damage as well, which is really weird. Yeah, I know, right? Anyway, so my belt piece is a string of ears. It's also a legendary. It gives me 185 dexterity, and that's highlights on that one. Let's see, my Blackthorn's jousting mail, which is a legendary set piece, gives me a 421 dexterity. My boots even give me a 375 dexterity, which is crazy. My rings give me a bonus of 22 to 41 damage on one, plus a 234 dexterity. 25% critical hit damage, which is also really nice. And I just found this legendary set piece ring as well, which is really nice. A Litany of the Undaunted. Gives me a 252 dexterity and a 5% critical hit chance. My quiver is Sin Seekers. It's a legendary. It gives me 260 dexterity, 11% attack speed, a bonus of 1 hatred per second, which is really nice, and a 6.5 critical hit chance. And that's pretty much my entire armor build right there, and one reason why I can just do so much damage. And here's some other really strong guys right here. I'm just going to stand in the wake of their damage. Just have Shadow Power on. Continue to unleash havoc. And eventually, these dudes who have millions of health are just still no match. Oh, here's a big group of dudes. I'm not really sure what they're doing. And you can just see that I'm doing an insane amount of damage. Here's a little bit stronger guy. We're going to pop out all of our moves at once. And he pretty much just died instantly. And that's how you get it done, son. Woo! Let's go. And lastly, on my passive skill build, I went over it a little bit, but the first two are really crucial that I always use is Vengeance. Gives your maximum hatred is increased by 25. So that's really nice on the fact that you just don't run through as much hatred on your hatred build. I mean, it's just a simple fact. And when you pick up health globes, you get 20 more hatred and 2 discipline. So you can just continue to just run through dudes over and over and over. And for that reason, usually like on my third skill, I like Hot Pursuit just because you increase your movement by 15%. And you can be just pretty much just running through the entire game, picking up health globes and just running at a quick speed. But if you do want more damage, you can always switch to Steady Aim. If you're shooting dudes at a little bit further distance, more than 10 yards, and your damage is increased by 20%. So you can get dudes for more damage at a longer distance. But the build really is just meant to just stand and soak up damage. So whether or not dudes are further away or right up next to you, you're doing an insane amount of damage. So sometimes that's why I like to just put on Brooding, and you gain 2% of your maximum life per second. Because not necessarily the dudes are going to be more than 10 yards away. And then for my second one, I do always love to have archery on, no matter what you're wielding. A bow, which is 15% increased damage, a crossbow, which is 50% critical hit damage for a dual wield, and a single hand crossbow, which is 10% critical hit chance. Keep in mind, if you are dual wielding single-handed crossbows, that is a 20% critical hit chance. And if you are using that instead of a quiver and my bow for this build, you will pretty much have around maybe 40-45% is what I would have. And, I mean, realistically, that's a critical hit at least once every second, which is insane. Especially if you have a socket and you craft in a high chance for critical hit damage. So keep that in mind. Hopefully like my video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and one more thing on passive skill builds. Custom engineering is also really nice. You're able to drop 3 sentry guns or 6 spike traps, and so let's try the assault breaker siege weapon dude or whatever, and we're gonna fuck this dude up here with a bunch of sentry guns and our build that we just had before. So we're gonna switch off the hot pursuit there.
Need more time.
And we're just going to stand right in front of him. Now we have 2 sentry guns out. Shadow power again. Still just raining damage. Regen all the way on hatred real quick. And then we're just going to lay into him with R2. And that right there. Beating him on Inferno. Yeah, triple sentries. Very effective.